I'm Kerry Rowett, and this is the Align and Attract podcast, helping you to create your version of an aligned business. Let's dive into today's episode. Today, I am talking with Emma Polette about her journey to create and then recreate a beautifully aligned business. This is part of my Your Aligned Business series, where I talk to inspiring business people about their aligned businesses and the choices they have made to ensure their businesses are aligned with their values, priorities, and goals. So for Emma, after years of having her self-esteem battered by the corporate boys club while dealing with stage 4 endometriosis, Emma ditched her 6-figure corporate career in Sydney and moved to Albany in Western Australia to start her multi-passionate business. She's now a personal trainer, a yoga teacher, a Reiki master, and a creator of the certified Body Love Coach program, the Body Love Academy. As Emma likes to say, she's a woman with a big belly and a big heart, and she's on a mission to help women love themselves more every day. What I love about Emma's journey is she's got that gorgeous story about creating alignment and coming into this place of having a really incredibly aligned business, which was very consciously created, and all of like the synchronicity and magic and growth that goes along with that. Then, like so many people, she was really impacted by COVID in 2020 and had to make huge changes and change direction. And after all of that, she finds herself in a very different place, but in a place where she feels incredibly aligned also. So I think you're going to love this story and hearing more from Emma, and I cannot wait to hear what you think. Welcome, Emma. I'm so happy to have you here with me today.
Oh, I'm excited too. Thanks for asking me.
So we first met in 2016 when you joined Align and Attract. Can you tell me about like where your business was at that point when you joined, and then what happened as you started aligning to your goals?
I had quit my corporate career in 2012, end of 2012, and decided to be a personal trainer. I started doing a boxing class back in Sydney where I used to live and loved how it made me feel. And I thought, I'm going to be a boxing teacher. So I did all of that and I moved over to Western Australia where my family is, started studying health coaching and personal training. But it was ticking along nicely, but I was still feeling quite worried about money. Money's always been a big worry for me. And so I actually did a course about managing your finances in a business perspective. And I had this one-on-one like hot seat coaching with someone and with the trainer. And I ended up basically in tears. I felt like she was shaming me for my financial situation. And it was a really horrible experience. And then someone that was in that course who I'd never met, she mentioned about your course and your Align and Attract for some reason. She just mentioned it. And so I got onto your mailing list and I started receiving your Reiki, distance Reiki that you were doing at the time every week or every month or whenever it was. And at the same time, a friend here locally told me to meet another friend of hers who was a Reiki master. So in the same like week or something, 2 people had come into my life that had to do with Reiki as well. And I was just feeling very guided. So I just felt like I had to do your course. And I didn't really know anything about it except having done some of your freebie videos and things like that. But it just felt like I'd been led there. That's why I started doing it.
And so what were you actually doing in your business at that time?
So I was doing classes, so local classes, and I was also doing a bit of health coaching, so like a 6-month kind of health coaching program with people. And it was all very like fitness tends to be. It was all very weight loss based. So, I really believed that at that point in time, because of my own history, I guess, I believed that helping women lose weight was the best way to help women feel confident and powerful and all that sort of stuff, which is very different to where I am now. But that's what I was doing at the time. So it's so interesting to look back on that, because that's what I really believed in my mind, was that weight loss was the key to confidence and success.
How interesting. And so then what changed once you joined Align and Attract and you started doing some alignments?
Well, I think the first thing that happened was just kind of confusion around what I'd been doing. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next, but it was just kind of like, this doesn't kind of feel right. And I don't think that making women feel bad about their weight is a good way to go about it. Not that I was trying to make people feel bad, but that's just kind of how those messages come across, I think, nowadays. So I was just kind of like, I don't know, this doesn't really feel right. And that year, I did start my own Reiki training, and I was also going through a really bad stage of endometriosis. So I've had a really long history with endometriosis. And that year, I spoke to my specialist, and he was like, it's gotten to the point where we probably need to do a hysterectomy. So that year, I was kind of coping with feeling a bit uncomfortable with what I was doing in my business, but also uncomfortable in my body and not feeling great about myself. So the alignment process at that point was just really helping me sort of stay grounded and explore new opportunities and sort of see that there was a different way of looking at things. Like, I think before I did Align and Attract and before I did Reiki, I was very, kind of science-based, rather than allowing the universe to kind of step in and help out kind of thing. So I think
so it started to change. Your perspective was the initial aspect. So you started to change your perspective. You started to ask yourself different kinds of questions. Is what I'm doing, is my messaging really in alignment with me? And you were kind of realizing that maybe it wasn't. So you did start to become more aligned in your business, though. When did that start to happen, where you actually started to get the clarity on, actually, I'm going to do things this way. This is what is right for me?
Well, I had a hysterectomy in January 2017. And I remember lying in my hospital bed, like maybe the day after, still hooked up to lots of pain meds, feeling like absolute crap. And getting this divine message that basically said to me, Emma, you've punished your body for too long. It's time to start loving it. And that was like, it really hit me in the heart, that message. And I don't think I would have been open to that message if I hadn't have had the year I'd had in 2016, which included the alignments and Reiki and all that kind of thing. And that was just a message that I got in January. And then throughout that year, the first 3 months of that year, I was really healing myself, but I was really starting to tap into this body love idea. So I got myself a business coach, because I thought I need some help to sort of change the way I'm doing things. I still wasn't sure how I wanted it to change. And I had this business coach. She was from a yoga perspective as well, so I thought that would be really great. But as we were going through like a new website and some new photos and a sales page I was trying to write, she said to me, oh, I think the photos you've posted show too much tummy. And I was actually fully clothed, but I have a round belly, partly because I've had lots of surgeries on that area, partly because I think genetically that's how our bodies look in my family. And also I'm a postmenopausal woman now, and a lot of women in that stage put weight on around their tummies. She said, I think you're showing too much tummy in this photo. And I was, and then she looked at some other photos and she goes, oh, that looks more like a before photo than an after photo. And I was just like shocked. I was so shocked, because I thought it wasn't why I had asked for feedback. I wasn't asking for feedback about my photos. I was asking for feedback about the offer and the sales page and the words and that kind of thing. But it really shocked me to think, wow, this person believes that the way my body looks is important enough that I should change photos or Photoshop them or something like that. So I spent about a week on and off in tears about this. I was just really upset by it. Not because I felt upset, that I'd felt offended by it. What I came to realize was it was more that I had realized I hadn't spoken to myself like that for a really long time. My internal dialogue hadn't been, you're too fat or you're too ugly. It had become that loving thing that that divine message asked of me in January. So it was kind of that shock of, do women really say this to each other? Is this how we talk to each other? So that made me realize I needed to really spread a body love message and a body acceptance message. And that had to be what I needed to talk about. So I feel like, yeah, 2016 and 2017 were these 2 big years of understanding I wasn't comfortable with the weight loss message, but then finally coming to the point where my message had to be about spreading body love instead of body shame and body hate.
And then that became like the basis for your business, and it was a business that was very aligned to you. So can you tell us about some of the elements of that business that you really created, which was now so aligned to you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I created in that time was the Body Love Academy. And so this was a 12-month course that's still available that is about teaching women how to become body love coaches. So I went to IICT, which is the International Institute of Complementary Therapies here in Australia, and got the body love method sort of accredited by them, so that when my students graduate, they can get insurance and they can get membership to a professional association, so that they are a recognised kind of modality. And when I got that done, there was all this stuff going on at IICT, and apparently I was the last person to get my training through for about 2 years because they had all this stuff happen. So that was, I was really aligned to have that happen. And so I created this 12-month course because back in the day, I did do a marketing degree as well. So I love all the marketing stuff. I love all the behind the scenes business stuff. So this course felt so aligned because I was teaching women about body love and about the body love method that I created, which is, 12 different elements that are both spiritual and physical that help us learn to love ourselves a bit more. And so I taught them the method, but then I would also teach them about starting their own business and how to market it and all of the behind the scenes stuff as well. And I remember putting that out there, and I felt quite nervous about putting that out there. But within like weeks, I had actually sold out the course. Like I only wanted 10 people, and I ended up with 13 people for my first round. And that would just happen so easily, like so effortlessly, because I felt like I could talk about body love forever. And a lot of the people were ex-clients. But, I had someone who was a professional like counselor who wanted to also do the course. And that felt like it was, validating that my course was professional enough that someone like that wanted to join as well. I had people from overseas join. I had someone from Melbourne who I'd never met join. So, and she joined because she had gone to see the movie Embrace, which is about body acceptance. And in the car park while she was waiting to go in, someone she knew had commented on one of my body love videos. So she'd never even followed me. And that's how she found it. And within 2 days, she'd signed up as well. So there was all this alignment going on around me as well as what I was doing at the time. So that was huge, because it all just happened so easily. And I must admit, up until that point in my business, I'd never felt that before. Everything had felt like it was a bit of a struggle. So, yeah.
And I remember around this time, it coming up actually in the Align and Attract group, and you were sort of chiming in and saying, like, I am feeling so incredibly aligned. And you were still doing quite regular alignments at around that time, I seem to recall. And you were like, I think it might have even been a weekly practice for you. Would that sound about right?
Yeah, I've gone through phases where it's like I try to do it almost daily. And then there's other phases where I do it weekly. And then there's other phases where I don't need it. Like I feel aligned, so I don't sort of feel like I need it. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? I think that's the beauty of like filling your toolkit with practices that actually work for you. And then at different phases of your journey, you're able to call on them. That's what I
Yeah.
personally like about the alignment process as well. As we were discussing before, it's like sometimes I'm the same. I will go back to using this practice almost daily so I can continue to clarify, like, what is it that I want, what's blocking me, get myself feeling like on the right path for me. And then at other times, like you say, you're feeling really well aligned and like things are unfolding beautifully and you don't necessarily need it, but it's having those tools that you can return to. So by 2020, like, you were really still in this beautiful alignment. And then of course, COVID hit. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what that meant for you and as a single woman as well?
Yeah. So in 2020, my launch for the Body Love Academy hadn't gone as well. So I had a few people signed up, but not the 13 that I'd had the year before. And you know, looking back on that now, it's like I should have maybe done a bit more aligning before that, because that launch again felt a bit forced, whereas the year before it just felt so natural. So I'd come into the year with like a little bit less income than I was expecting through the Body Love Academy, but that's okay because I teach classes. My classes were getting more and more popular. I had some retreats booked in Bali. So the year before, in 2018, I'd done. 2019, I'm getting the years mixed up. 2019, I did my first Bali retreat for a week, and that was again such an aligned experience for everybody involved. It was magical. So the following year, I had 2 booked. I was going to spend the whole month in Bali. Like I was, you know, just feeling like I was kicking it out of the park, really. But yeah, COVID hit, and so the majority of my income was coming from classes, so in-person classes, which obviously had to stop immediately. And I think we were given like 2 days notice that was going to happen. And I just remember feeling like everything, like my stomach dropped, my heart dropped, everything just, it all disappeared in front of my eyes. And then with Bali, you know, I had a lot of people pay up front, but I'd put most of the money that I had received from people who were coming to Bali straight to the accommodation provider, and they were unable to, well, they didn't actually have to, and they weren't able to refund me, but my people were asking for refunds, and I had a very clear refund policy. But I mean, what do you do when I live in a fairly small town? If I'm saying no to people about refunds, that the word's going to get out really fast. Actually, one of the people who wanted a refund was I think she's the president of our local chamber of commerce. So she didn't read the fine print, but that's not my fault. But I just didn't know how to say no to these people without getting some long-term damage to my reputation.
Absolutely. And when it's the case that they can't actually go, it's like you were just put into this very difficult position because you do have to, but it's really hard.
Yeah. So like, not only was I not earning any income from my business, I also owed people lots of money. And my, like, I feel the tears coming now. Like, that was just an awful time because, you know, if I think back to 10 years ago, I was earning 6 figures in a corporate position. Like, it made me question everything. What have I done? Why did I leave that? Why am I doing this? Am I stupid? Like, it was awful. It was really, really awful. And I took on coincidentally, actually, because it wasn't because of the pandemic, but coincidentally, I had taken on some part-time work at a local health food shop. So there was a change of ownership, and I'd been working there for a while, but I was offered the management position, which was really good timing. But because of lots of different things, I worked there more hours than I was originally supposed to. So that was great for the finances, and I was able to get job keeper and all that kind of stuff. But it meant that the time I had for my business had diminished a lot. But I was also questioning my business. I'm like, oh, well, it's obviously, you know, I had a bad launch for the Body Love Academy. It's obviously not working. And I just started to question everything. So it was pretty hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what has happened since then? So you've had that bit of time and space. Of course, like that would have just brought up so much for you, like being so dramatic, so unexpected, something you couldn't have predicted, couldn't have planned for. And then it makes sense that, of course, you'd question other things you're doing as well, like, is Body Love the thing for me? now with some space and some time, and then you were mentioning earlier that at the start of this year, you were doing some alignments again, doing some goal alignments. What are you feeling now?
I feel as aligned as I did in 2018. But it's probably a more intentional alignment. Like, I think I wanted to be aligned, whereas I think in 2018 it kind of just happened that way, whereas this year it's been more of how can I make this happen. So like a good example is where I'm living now. A really good friend of mine offered me her granny flat at a really reduced rental rate to help me because of my financial situation because of COVID. And I've lived here before. So I lived here actually in 2016 when I was doing Align and Attract the first time. And when I moved back in here, it's fully furnished. So all the furnishings were in the same place. And for the first few months, I would sort of be on the couch and I'd be like, I just feel a bit, because I felt like nothing's changed. Here I am 4 years later in exactly the same place, or 5 years later. So, I've moved the furniture around and just things like that to help create that feeling of alignment. So yeah, at the beginning of the year, I pulled out my Align and Attract cards and I started doing, weekly alignments. I was following along with the course for a while, and then I just kind of went rogue and did my own thing because I know what I'm doing. And yeah, I think all of that has helped. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned over all of this time, I think, with Align and Attract is that it's finally sunk in that it's okay to do what feels good for me. And I know that's such an obvious thing, but I think that was the gift that COVID gave me, was giving me that space and time to go, what do I actually really want to do? And what it led me to was my yoga, back to yoga, because I'm a yoga teacher. I can teach classes now. So I was teaching from home, but now I'm teaching in larger studios. I'm attracting more people to my classes because I physically can now. And that alignment to yoga and that love of yoga has now brought me full circle back to body love. So like last year, I felt like I had to give body love the flick. Obviously, this is a sign that's not right for me, blah, blah, blah. But no, I'm right back to where I started in 2018 when I felt aligned, because
Yes.
that's me. That's
yeah.
aligned.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you go.
I love what you've said there. It's like sometimes we can draw those conclusions, can't we? Like there is something happening in the external world and it brings up this sense of doubt or confusion, and we make that mean something. And that's where I think it is so valuable to have a tool, whether it's the alignment process or something else. But it's so that you can actually re-clarify and reconnect to yourself and what's right for you. And you can do that with those really beautiful, open-ended positive goals around knowing what's right for me, being connected to my soul, being connected to the right path for me, being connected to my purpose, obviously framed as a goal. But as you kind of align to those kinds of goals, it brings you back to that sense of knowing what's right for you rather than being in that space of reactivity. And I think that when we work for ourselves, it's super easy to operate from a space of reactivity because stuff happens like last year where it's like can be quite dramatic and very changeable. But also, things just change. Social media changes. Things that might have worked for you might no longer work in a marketing sense and things like that. And you can draw these conclusions that, if something's not right for me, rather than staying really connected to yourself, really agile, really focused, and kind of objective as well. So you can just keep discerning what is actually right for me and also make other decisions, like you mentioned. And I see this happen a lot. You said it right at the start when you joined Align Attract at around that same time. You started on your Reiki journey, and that has not been an uncommon thing, if not Reiki, but then other things. It's like as you are creating that alignment, you get ideas of other things that are going to really support your alignment. And also, like you mentioned, you work with people, and we all do that, and also often need to do that, have extra training, do extra learning, work with coaches. But then rather than just taking on board that message and assuming that's right, You're bringing it back to your alignment. Is this right for me? Is this true for me? Is this going to work for me? So there's quite a few different elements, aren't there, with that alignment?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as you're talking, I wanted to mention, like, the other thing that I think alignment has helped me with is my relationship with alcohol, which we talked about before we started recording. Like, the years 2018, when I had an amazingly aligned year, I didn't drink for 9 months, and since 4th of January this year, I haven't had any alcohol either. And I've realized, for me personally, I'm not, a falling down drunk or anything, but like, I was relying on alcohol as a crutch for, dealing with stress, even though it was making me more anxious than anything else, probably. But it's amazing how I think the alignment process also helped me with that, like, to come back to the idea that being sober is the right thing for me. So it's not just, obviously, alignment isn't just about your business, and it's about everything. And so, that's helped me significantly, is understanding that alignment process in my health and my personal life.
So can you tell me, like, how did you do alignments and then realize, actually, I want to go sober again? How did that play out for you?
Well, I think the thing that I love about the alignment process is that it brings you into your body. And, like, I spent so much time feeling anxious. And so I think when I stop and do the alignment process, that helps me tune into that anxiety. Like, it's a real thing. It's happening in my body. And so that's what helped me, I think, move into the sobriety, because from 2018, when I took 9 months off, I knew that the anxiety had gone away, that, like, I'd never felt so confident, like, maybe not walking into a stranger's party would I feel confident as a sober person. Like, that's still a nerve-wracking thing for me to do. But in general, my life, I just feel like I can say anything. I'm not going to embarrass myself. My skin feels better. I stand taller. I sleep better. Like, everything's better for me when I don't drink. And so I'd had that experience in 2018. And when last year wasn't great, and using alcohol really as a way of coping, which is not, I'm doing fingers if anyone's listening, quote fingers, it doesn't help, but it felt like it did at the time. When I thought about who I wanted to be in 2020 and 2021 and beyond, I wanted to be that sober person, and that feels aligned. Like, that feels like for me, the alignment process is a very grounding experience. It helps me feel grounded, and because it's great to use when you're all up in your head and you're flighty and you're reacting to things and you're not making conscious decisions, really. And so I think physically, when I don't drink, that's how I feel grounded, and alignment helps me feel grounded as well. So I think that's how the two things are connected. So I don't know if doing an alignment at the end of the alignment, I went.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't think doing an alignment made me go, I've got to be sober. But I think I just was chasing the same feelings from both those experiences.
Yeah, there you go. So it's like that clarity, because you're spending that time, like you said, to tune into the feelings in your body that maybe are heavier. There might be that increased sense of anxiety, or that those other sensations of the emotions maybe that are, more challenging for us. But then you're continuing to open up that space for, what is it that I do want to feel? How can I generate that? So I think you're right. I think it definitely does bring that clarity, and you start to notice, hang on, when I drink, I am increasing those feelings that I don't desire. When I'm not drinking, I'm increasing those feelings I do desire. It sort of creates that clarity. So now you are feeling aligned again. And it's so interesting, because sometimes we think, alignment is about success, or it's about growth, or about expansion. But from what I'm hearing, like, there still is this kind of feeling of this rebuilding for you, but the feeling is one of alignment, isn't it? And so just describe for us, as we start to finish up, like, what is that feeling for you of you being in alignment with your business and in your life?
Well, I feel like for the first time ever, I'm not very often anyway, doing things because I think it's going to have a certain outcome. Like, I'm just doing things because they feel really good to me at the moment. But then what seems to happen is when I do that, things change, or I get a new client, or I sell out a class, or something changes in my business. So these things are so hard to explain, aren't they? But like, so 2018, when I launched, when I did the Body Love Academy for the first year and I did that launch, that just felt effortless. Whereas in 2020, when I was 2019, 20, when I was doing the second launch, I was trying to get something, and that's what didn't feel aligned anymore. Whereas now I feel like I can just, you know, make a reel for Instagram because it feels fun, not because I'm chasing a certain number of people to view it, or teach a certain class because that fits into my timetable and I enjoy that, rather than I need the money kind of thing. So finally, I'm just making those decisions based on what's feeling right for me, as opposed to what I feel like I should be doing. And that's huge for me.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think being able to unhook, like you mentioned, from that, if I do this, I'll get that. And it's even like it can be quite compelling, even with something like the alignment process. Like, oh, if I align to my goals, then I'll get this particular outcome. And the thing is, like, yes, you might, like, and yes, we sometimes do, but even more importantly, we can really shift into that space where our expectations of what it is that we're going to get start to really dissolve. And it's more about being in that space where you are creating things that you really desire. You are doing things that you really love. You're operating in the world in the way that you want to actually be. And it's from that space that you create, you know, really amazing things, isn't it? And you feel that sense of alignment and momentum.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. And it feels like momentum, but also that I can stop and rest, and, you know, and that's okay too. Whereas in the past, when I've had momentum, it's like, I've got to keep going. If I do something wrong, then everything's going to blow up. But now I just can trust that it, you know, everything will be okay.
I was about to say that. I'm hearing that's the change. It's like there is this sense of trust. It's like the worst thing can happen. And
Yeah.
I was able to navigate that. And now it's almost like I can do it for the fun of it. I can do it for the pleasure of it. And yeah, things are probably going to go really, really well, but it's like it's going to be on my terms. And I can hear as well, it's like my identity is less hooked in to the success or the outcome.
Yes. And this morning when I was journaling, I was writing something about how great I felt. And in my head, I got this automatic thought of, well, something shit's on its way then. And I wrote down, like, imagine, Emma, if it didn't have to be that way. Imagine if the next thing's great. What if the next thing's great? What if that's your default now, that, you know, everything that's happening is great? And so even this morning, I had this little shift, but it's not even that little. It's like, what if everything's going to be awesome? You know, think that, have that as your default setting rather than, you know, the other way. So it's still constantly evolving and changing, which is so beautiful.
I love it. And journaling is a brilliant alignment practice. And it's part of why in my book, Align and Attract, like I have the journal that goes alongside it so that you can ask yourself questions and get into that place of figuring out what's right for me. And like you said, really defining what it is that I want, how is it that I'm feeling, and so on. So thank you so much for sharing with us your journey of alignment and really coming into alignment, feeling like you're out of alignment or that everything's come crashing down, and then recreating this different, really beautiful foundation of alignment for this, you know, next stage of your journey. So could you please share with us how people can connect with you and also how they can work with you?
Sure. So my website's emmapolette.com. And I have three main programs that people can get involved in. One is Go with the Flow, which is a 6-week online yoga course. So if you obviously can't come to my yoga classes, you can do some yoga with me online. I also have a one-on-one coaching program, which is a sadhana, which is a yogic daily intentional practice. So it's basically working with me for 21 days, doing the same daily intentional practice. We work out the one that's right for you, because doing that one thing for 21 days can be really transformational. And so that's a one-on-one program you can do. And then there's also the Body Love Academy. I've just tweaked it now so it's self-study, so people can enroll whenever they want to and do it at their own pace. And as I said, that will take you into becoming a body love coach, which is something you can do as a side hustle, or even maybe one day create your own business helping other women feel great about themselves. That's all at my website.
Okay.
Yeah.
And could you share your website for us, please?
Yeah, it's emmapoliette.com.
Thank you. And it's just been such a joy to talk with you today.
Thank you.
So, what did you think? Wasn't Emma wonderful? It's just so fabulous to hear about different people's versions of success and what their aligned business looks like. And sometimes it can be a real journey. I'm sure that you can relate. Creating alignment is not a one-time thing, and it's not exclusively a growth and expansion thing. We all have different phases, and that's why I felt like it was so beautiful to be able to share Emma's really inspiring story with you. Now, we did talk about my group program, Align and Attract, and what I love about the program, one of the things is that so many participants stay connected with the process and go back to the materials in the program for years afterwards. And that tells me there is just so much power and so much value in that, and being able to look at what's blocking us, to be able to get clear on what it is that we really want, and to use my alignment process to create more alignment with that. I just think it's incredibly useful no matter where you are in your business journey. You can find out more about Align and Attract at alignandattract.com/course, and you can find all of the relevant show notes from today over at alignandattract.com/blog/19. If you enjoyed the episode, please do share it with a friend, and I am looking forward to seeing you next time.